Alright guys, what's going on? This is Restless Corpse.
And I'm still Providence.
And we are still Virtual Bromance live, and this is still episode 6.
Still.
Pro title here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about a few things today. Maybe not as nearly as much as our last week episode.
The most epic and longest episode ever made.
Yes. This will be a one-parter.
It may not even have to be an hour and a half long. It may be the hour that we always wish our episodes would be.
That we still have not been able to do that.
Yeah. So, we can. I think we're supposed to shoot for the stars. Really, is the goal.
Don't we do that all the time, and that's why we go too far?
I guess. I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right. Cool. So this week we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about The Last of Us because the game is amazing, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to talk about possibly something you've been playing. I heard something about some Castlevania.
It's true.
and
Yeah.
then we're going to talk about our ideas for a reboot of Vagrant Story because we're both like super huge Vagrant Story fans.
Yeah, we're not going to get this episode done in an hour.
No, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. And then we're going to have our usual top 5. Which we frantically scrambled together right before the show. So yeah, John, I want you to tell me about Castlevania.
Well, first off, it's not just Castlevania, my friend. It is... Oh, man, I forgot to bring the case in from the car. I was going to hold it up, but it's Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate. That game, which possesses one of the longest titles of any game that I've ever played.
Right, which is why our original idea for the top 5 today was long, ridiculous titles.
Right.
But there were too many.
Too many like stupid ones and not enough really, really clutch ones.
Right, we had to keep it from because a long, ridiculous title does not necessarily equal a stupid title. Like if the title has to do with the game, and the game is just stupid, the title's still alright. I mean, whatever. But anyway, we scrapped the idea and we went with a different top 5. So go ahead, John.
It's true. We did that. No, the game is pretty great. I'm really I'm not super far into it. I got a couple probably 2 hours into it or so, and I'm sticking with it. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm sure I'm gonna finish it. It's one of the reasons that I decided it was a good idea to purchase a 3DS for my son for Christmas. And so along with that, I recently purchased. Last week I purchased the Castlevania game as well as Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D for Dexter to play, which I can't lie, I played a fair amount of as well. I probably got to the Jabu's belly or whatever, and he would play the game once in a while and go cut bushes down skeletons. But so I, in between helping him with Zelda, playing it for him, I've put in some time with Castlevania, and it is a sort of an in-between title. It's the game that gives the story of what goes on between the Castlevania Lords of Shadow game and the Lords of Shadow 2 game, which is going to be coming out, I think, spring or fall of this year, or maybe next spring. Right. Which I mean, David, you know that I was a huge fan of the game. It got mixed reviews because a lot of people talked about how it was sort of a glorified melting pot of game elements from other games that already had done those things.
I remember everybody talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, where you had the really Devil May Cry sort of combat, or God of War style combat, I guess was what they were saying at the time, and the Shadow of the Colossus stuff with the Titans and that kind of stuff. So but I thought it was a really great game, mostly because
because you cobble a game together with a whole bunch of different stuff that's already been used in other games doesn't make the game not good.
Right, especially if you use those game elements well. I mean, I think that the way that they sort of stitched everything together was pretty fantastic, but the thing that sells the game for me, and I know that we've talked about this, and I think we both agree, it's that it's a fantastic story. it was a reboot of the Castlevania franchise, which was
With
a little
an
bit
amazing ending. Just throwing
Right.
that out there.
It was a tricky thing to do because they had just done a reboot not that long ago. Oh, well, I don't know if was Lament of Innocence supposed to be a reboot or just an origin story.
I think it was an origin story.
Okay, but that wasn't that long ago, so people were kind of like,
it was PS2 era. I mean,
right,
I
but it's not
guess.
like
not super
it's
long
not-
ago.
it's
It's not
not-
retro
right.
or anything. We'll put it that way.
right. It's not like they were the first game gave the origin story back in like whatever it was 86 that it came out, and now they're like, oh hey, we're gonna whatever. It was just within the last decade or something that they had done an origin story, so I think people were a little bit a little bit hesitant. People were like, you finally gave us the origin story and now you're going to give us a totally different new origin story. And I think that when it actually came down to the story itself, it was great. I mean, it was so much cooler than I expected it to be. The voice acting was amazing. The level design was pretty great. Combat was challenging. There were some spots that were like Ninja Gaiden challenging. It was like ridiculous, like smash the controller infuriating at some points. And I was playing on like normal difficulty. And then they did some really smart moves at the end where, like, when they put up the 2 DLC packs, rather than putting the budget or wasting the budget on doing a bunch of FMVs for the DLC, they got the voice actors back and they did a comic book style art for the 2 DLCs. Now, the great thing about the DLC, I think it was 2. The great thing about the DLC, well, you need to do that then. They're both really, really awesome. Oh, yeah, okay. They're really, really awesome. When we move, I have them on my Xbox, so you can play them on there or whatever. Because if you don't play those DLCs, you don't understand. Can I spoil the ending of the first game? I think
it's long enough now,
right?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So it's revealed at the end of the game that Gabriel Belmont is in fact Dracula. That he took on this curse through the course of like trying to bring back his wife. He took on this curse and became Dracula. But the problem is that where the game itself, gameplay-wise, ends, and where the FMV at the end of the game begins, there's a gap where you don't really understand how he went from being like, there he was standing in hell, he had just beaten, that they were calling him in the game. I don't remember. Jason Isaacs
froze there for a second, so I have no clue what you said.
Lucifer or Satan,
Nah.
Jason Isaacs. I can't remember which one it was that they were.
I
calling.
knew what he said, but
Right. So you had beaten him, and you were just sort of standing there in the void, and like, wow, I just beat the devil, whatever. And then in the final cutscene, it's modern day, and
that's after the credits, right?
Yeah, and it's modern day, and he's sitting in like a ruined mansion, and he's Dracula. So like, you get that transformation in the DLCs, where he basically chooses to become a vampire because vampires are part demon, and he needs to get into this part of the underworld that is only demons can enter. So he chooses the little girl vampire from the game turns him
Right.
to help him get into this portion of hell, and it's nice. You're eating food; it's good.
So I'm hungry.
But now we see that there's still that big gap between when he became a vampire and when you hit that modern day where he's living in isolation, wasting away, and Zobek comes to find him and say that it's time for them to like get their vengeance and fix things.
Okay.
And they have said outright that this is a trilogy. They're not doing any other games. They've been saying it all along. So you've got Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate for 3DS, and then you got Lords of Shadow 2 coming out. And Mirror of Fate is supposed to thread those together. And well,
The 2 games or
those
the
2 games.
cutscene and the ending? The 2 games.
Well, the cutscene and the ending, because I think that at least the first portion of the second game is going to also be bridging that gap. You're not going to start out right away as withered Dracula. You're going to be Gabriel in his castle as an overlord. So what's some of the stuff, this 3DS game, it's a 3DS game. You expect the 3D gameplay more combat heavy like Lords of Shadow was, but it's for the most part a side-scrolling Castlevania game, which is awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
you get some like 3 sort of elements, enemies going into the background and coming back up, that kind of stuff. But the exploration essentially is side scrolling, and it's been a while. I mean, the Castlevania games have always translated really well to handheld game devices. Like all the DS games that they were really great. The vast majority of the Game Boy Advance games were really great. I think that it's a game style that is perfect for a handheld sort of environment. So to see that this game goes back to that sort of feel, but not so constrained. It's not like you go into the room. The top of the screen is the ceiling. The bottom of the screen is the floor. The rooms are bigger. You have more of a sense of large scale. So you can sort of zoom. Like if you're in a boss fight, if you run far enough away, the camera pulls back, so you can get that distance. You're not trapped. It's not so claustrophobic. Right. And so I just hit a point where like the game opens up, and I was trying to explore a little bit. I wasn't sure it had opened up yet. I was trying to explore a little bit, and I moved through a door, and it went to kind of a load screen to a new area, and I realized that it was an area I'd already been to, and it was like, oh, finally, this is open exploring the castle time, and you're playing like the other thing that's great about it is that with that game they introduced they brought back Alucard. But he's not the lead character. You can play as Alucard in later game stuff. I think after you finish with, I think it's Trevor. Is it Trevor with the red, with the furry collar? I think it's Trevor Belmont. Sure. Yeah, that you start off as, and I think when you finish with Trevor, you can unlock Richter or Alucard as also playable characters. And Alucard, he's a pimp. He's always been a pimp, but this is a new Alucard because he's in the Lords of Shadow continuity. So in that continuity, he's too fucking badass to wear a shirt, which is amazing. I mean, you got to be a tough motherfucker to wear a long coat with no shirt underneath it.
Right.
When's the last time
progression of upper body wear goes shirt, paper shirt, no shirt.
Right. And when's the last time we saw someone really be a total badass in a long coat with no shirt?
Liquid Snake.
Liquid Snake is like the only other one you can think of.
Yeah.
But he was really, really badass. So, I'm pretty stoked to get to the Alucard stuff, and it looks like Alucard's also going to be in Lords of Shadow 2. He's in the trailer. It looks really kick-ass. But all classic gameplay elements, but a little bit more than just like hit the button, you crack your whip. It's got the combo system that Lords of Shadow had. So even though it's side-scrolling, you still have that combo-based whip combat. It's got your character
Can you
levels
hold the
up.
button and let the whip dangle? It's very important.
I'm not sure. I've never tried it because no, I don't think you can. I know that that's a really cool gameplay element that we,
So when those flying skulls are coming at you, just hold your. All right, so yeah, we're back. Had a minor power problem here at the Restless Corpse HQ. In any case,
yeah, man.
John was talking about Castlevania. I'm not real sure. I mean, did you have anything else to say about it?
I was just saying that I think it's really great. I really lost my momentum. I was in the middle of something when it all went down, when shit got real. But I don't know. I think it's a great game. I having the other characters and stuff. The more classic gameplay style, everything about it really feels really good. Not in a sexual way.
It really feels really good.
Yet, I mean, it could go that route.
I mean, you're not like rubbing that all over your junk or anything, are you?
Oh my god, no, I'm sorry.
Awkward. All right, so hold on, I'm still resituating stuff here. All right. In any case, so yeah, I have spent since Friday all of my my video game time has been spent on The Last of Us.
Which is funny because didn't you tell me on like Saturday that you were going to play a different game every day for 365 days
I haven't
straight?
started that yet. I was going to start that tonight after the show. Which is why I haven't started it yet, because The Last of Us is so good that I really didn't want to stop playing it.
You know what I really wish? I really wish that we could put up a Facebook post about us doing this show right now, but
I'm sure that people know. But anyway, okay, so The Last of Us. First of all, everybody that knows me is going to be like, what? Because I'm playing a PS3 game. I do own a PS3.
Whoa. It's a PS3 game?
Yeah, it's PS3 exclusive. It's made by Naughty Dog. They make all the Uncharted games and all that, and they're all PS3 exclusive. Except for Jak and Daxter, which they also make.
That's exclusive.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right, so, yeah.
Love those games.
I do own a
Jak and
PS3. I just don't ever play anything on it because I like the Xbox better, which obviously might change in the next console generation. But that's all last week's episode. We're not going to get into that here. But The Last of Us, I've been super excited about the game since I heard about it a long time ago. I was on the cover of a Game Informer an article I totally read while I was taking a shit, which is where I do most of my best reading.
Not his best readings. He's not like reading to other people.
Right. And this is just like kind of speculation on my part because I could be wrong about this, but a long time ago, even before, like many years ago, there was a game that was supposed to be coming out as a post-apocalyptic game called like Earth No More or something like that I don't remember. And I think that as far as I know, it was scrapped, and I think this might be what it turned into, but it could be wrong because it's kind of the same premise. It is a post-apocalyptic zombie game, although they're not really zombies. It's a fungus, like some spores that people breathed in, made this cordyceps stuff like grow inside them.
We talked about this last week a little bit. It's The Happening in a video game.
Not really. Because obviously The Happening was stupid and it was just trees fucking with people with like some kind of weird
just trees
pheromones.
Fucking with people.
Yeah. No, this is like it
no, man, that's just trees fucking with you.
Turn these people into zombies. But it's really weird because they have to still be alive because you can strangle them to death.
Do they eat fresh?
Sub fresh, bro. But the game starts out down in Texas with
where all my exes live.
Right, with a guy. You start out as this little girl named Sarah, and some shit happens, and then it cuts to 20 years later, which I think is really cool because you get to see like the outbreak happen and the panic, and it's really done well. Like it feels like you're watching a movie that you can interact with, which is cool. The voice acting is really well done. It's probably some of the best I've ever seen in any game ever. The graphics are really spectacular. The animation and like the lip syncing and stuff like that is really good. The dialogue, just like in the Uncharted games, I guess Naughty Dog just knows what they're doing when it comes to writing and script writing and things like that. It's just phenomenal. I played through the game twice, like right back to back, which I don't normally do, because it was just that good. I played it on normal first, and then I played it on Survivor difficulty, which is like the super tough one, and I just finished that today. It's what I like about the game. First of all is, like I said, the graphics are great. The post-apocalyptic setting, 20 years later, really makes it cool because it's like after everything has died down, more of humanity than in most zombie games has survived. So it's like each city has a quarantine zone that's like under martial law for the military. And in this one, I guess the military... You don't really get to see much of them being corrupt or anything. They have the place locked down, and you have to have like ID papers to move through different parts of the city, but it never really felt like the military is corrupt or tyrannical or anything. But there's a group called the Fireflies, which are rising up and I guess trying to overthrow the military, and they're supposed to be the good guys. They're looking for a cure, which is like a premise of the game, and I'm not going to spoil it, but that's a big part of why you're making this cross country trek with this little girl, and it's got like a really cool morality. There's no morality system to it, but in the narrative, like you can tell that Joel, the main character,
is a dick.
Who is this old guy? He's not a dick. He's set in his ways, and as he says with his partner in crime at the time, and I say partner in crime because Tess and Joel are smugglers, and they're killers. They fuck people over if they have to. They're not moral people, and you get to see Joel like change throughout the course of the story because of this little girl, and it's really cool. But Joel he really grew on me from the beginning, and I think that he is a contender to be one of like the coolest characters in that video game. So, which is why I really want you to play it, John. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna have to do that when we get a chance.
Did you buy it or rent it?
I rented it, but I think we're gonna buy it because I've heard lots about the multiplayer. And now here's the thing: I can't play the multiplayer because it's got an online pass. So I can't like comment on anything about the multiplayer. But from what I read, it sounds weird. Like I don't think it's just straight up, death matches and things like that. There's people are talking about weeks, like they're trying to get to week 12. Apparently, there's two factions. The multiplayer is actually called factions, and there's two factions. There's the Fireflies and the Hunters, and it looks like each one is actually a story. So I'm kind of curious as to how that plays out. I'm gonna have to watch some videos or read up on or something because it sounds really innovative and cool. But back to the game. There's very like the zombie aspect of it, and that's something I said on Facebook a little earlier yesterday. Is really takes a back seat to your relationship with the other factions in this world, like the Hunters, which they're basically just bandits and assholes that when you get to Pittsburgh. You get ambushed, and it turns out it's this group of survivors there that are bandits. They ambush people that come to the town and kill them and steal all their shit, and that's how they survive. So you have to fight off these guys. There's a part later on in the game where you run into a group of cannibals, and it's just most of the game. In the beginning of the game, you're fighting a lot of the soldiers because you're leaving the quarantine zone, and apparently that's illegal.
Are they classy cannibals that like cook stuff up real nice, or are they like gross cannibals that just eat raw flesh?
It never really goes into it. The only thing, as a matter of fact, the only way you know they're cannibals is because, and I'm trying not to spoil too much of it here, but you see while one of them's talking to you, you see them cutting up a body. And your character just kind of assumes they're cannibals, and they say something about it, and the guy doesn't deny it. So none of the narrative is really cut and dry. Like it's that there's several really cool characters that you meet along the way. Some of them die in kind of heart-wrenching ways. And speaking of, it's one of the only games I've ever played that actually like made me kind of feel like an emotional thing.
Whoa, no! You always
said, bro. There were some feels.
You said there. You always told me there was one other game that got you like.
That's why I said one of the only. I didn't say the only.
What was the other one that you always say?
I don't know. I don't know what we're talking about.
I mean, I know that the only movie that ever made you cry was the Ewok Adventure.
The Ewok Adventure at the end, yeah.
But I don't.
Why you gotta bring that up, John?
Sorry, man.
I remember way back in the day, Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. There's a part in there that got me choked up a little bit. which is weird.
What about the end of
It's
Final Fantasy
SNES.
IX when Vivi like dies and gives
Didn't
birth
do
to
it.
all those little Vivis?
Didn't do it for me.
Mm.
In any case, The Last of Us, it's an extremely good game. Like I rented it. Today was the day that I need to take it back. Yesterday, I was thinking about just going out and buying it. So I had already finished the game. I was already on my second playthrough, and I was like, man, I really should go buy this game. It's just one of those games. Like I've got, because I'm the kind of guy that will keep a game as long as he can. But if I want a game, I'm going to trade in some games. And I don't, if I don't have the money, I'm going to trade in some games. So, right. But I have an entire library of games that I will never ever sell or trade in or give away.
Well, yeah, you just recently traded in a bunch of stuff
Right.
for.
For Remember Me,
Mm.
which I talked about last week. But this is one of those games that I think that I would buy and keep, much like Metal Gear Solid 4. Remember when when my PS3 broke, and it was broke for like a year and a half, I waited like 8 or 9 months before I finally traded in Metal Gear Solid 4, and then when I got the new PS3, that was the first game that I bought back. So it's just it's The Last of Us is in that caliber of game for me. So it's a very good game. I suggest, or I recommend for anybody that has a PS3 and likes that type of game to pick it up. It's really good.
Pick up Metal Gear Solid 4? Yeah, fantastic game. You should play it.
That as well. But The Last of Us is a super badass game. So I don't think we're going to make our hour mark.
I think
Anyway, let's. If there's nothing else that you want to talk about gaming-wise this week,
You know what? There is, and it's going to take me a second here, but there is something else I wanted to talk about because it's shenanigans. I mean, I don't know about shenanigans, but it's like I have to turn this on real quick here. So I've been doing this Borderlands 2 Krieg thing, and now that I'm actually getting I'm at level 30, and now that I'm really getting into the meat of that skill tree of the skill trees for this guy, there's some serious shenanigans going on there. Like,
how so?
well, like you remember when you and Luke and I were playing our psychos, and we found out that there's that one. What the hell? Oh, my chair is like on my headset, and I'm like, There was the one skill that made it so that you were vulnerable to team damage, which we didn't know, and we were killing each other repeatedly.
And it made for a really fun time until we all decided to respec, yeah.
Yeah, but since I've been playing alone, like I've been using that one, and it doesn't really affect me. But there's another skill that's further down the tree. The game's loading. I'll pull that fucker up in a second. But basically, what it does is it greatly increases your melee damage, but makes you crazed. And there's a compatibility pack.
Sounds cool, but
It makes you like stupid crazed. So there's a 12% chance.
Pull it up on your PC.
It doesn't matter. There's a 12% chance that you'll hit yourself anytime you try to melee attack somebody. And what happens is he goes and smacks himself in the face, and then the thing gets all blurry and you can't see shit. And you take a bunch of damage, or it knocks out half your shield. The problem is, like, I can't justify like skipping the skill because of the 12% chance, because I have the skill at 3, and I'm getting plus 150% melee damage from it. At 4, it's plus 200% melee damage.
Yeah.
I mean, the reward far outweighs the cost, I think. But how many times can I run up to something like ready to kick some ass, and I smack myself in the face with my buzz axe, and like can't see shit, so you're like stunned for a second, so the shit gets away from you. But
sounds awesome, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's called Silence the Voices, and
Hey, John,
it's Chance. What's up?
Check out this guy. Just saying.
Nice lamp.
Yeah. I'm gonna miss that guy.
Chance when performing a melee attack that you attack yourself. Melee plus 150%, chance to attack self plus 12%. And it looks like it stays at 12% the whole time, because it's been at 12% all along. I mean, then the other one we were talking about is Fuel the Rampage, and I think that the logic behind Fuel the Rampage is because it's a 30% friendly fire damage.
Well, yeah, it's like I said while we were at work, right?
You want the guys that are on your squad to like
to pump you up before a big fight,
shoot you a bunch to fill your Buzzax Rampage.
right?
So
like you'll use it, you'll come out of it, they'll start shooting you and build it back up, and then you know.
Right, and if you have the Release the Beast, which is the last skill on the Mania tree, if you go into Buzzax Rampage when below 33%, it transforms you into a badass Psycho Mutant, where you deal increased melee damage and have like a different health stat and stuff. So I think that those, like all that stuff built, in conjunction would be pretty great, but when you're playing alone and it's like, oh man, it's just one little stupid, spider ant or whatever. Not even a spider ant. It's one like larval Varkid. And you go over to hit it and you hit yourself in the face and you down yourself. It's kind of humiliating.
Sounds pretty cool to me.
Well,
because then you could just chase that Varkid around with your bombs.
I suppose.
Yeah.
It's
there. I think the most useful use for running around with the bombs is actually just to run to your teammates so that they can heal you. Like never mind trying to blow stuff up. Just
I end up trying to find. I'll look around and try to find the weakest enemy on the field and throw bombs at it. But I'll throw a couple and I'll be like, oh, it's not doing shit for damage. Where's somebody to revive me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I've looked at these other trees. I guess I just don't see anything in the other trees that I really, really like. Maybe the Bloodlust tree is pretty good.
All right. Well, we should probably move on here.
Yeah. So sorry. That was really something that's been on my mind. Well, in much the same way that the Buzzax has been on Krieg's mind, physically on his mind.
Right.
And now I'm really getting into the serious meat of the game, like into the further reaches that I have not gotten into with a new character in a long time, like by myself. Last night, Gemma and I played a little bit while the show was on, and we were in the Iridium Blight, and I found out that I actually have no clue where anything is in the Iridium Blight.
Because I've always driven you around.
Yeah, because it was always you driving. So, like we were trying to go between missions or turn something in or whatever, and the show was on and we were doing stuff, and like she was like, all right, well, I'm eating pizza real quick. Take us to the next gate or whatever, and we were watching the show and I was driving around, and then 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by, and she's like, what? Do you have any idea where you're going? Like you. And I said, you know what? Just switch. You drive. So we switched seats, and it took her less than 30 seconds to go directly to the spot where I couldn't find the bridge to get across the ravine. I crashed off like cliffs like at least twice.
Good times.
But it's because I haven't replayed all of these missions a number of times like I have with the earlier stuff. It's a lot more fun to be able to replay those late game missions. I know right now the kill yourself mission is in my one of my optional side missions.
It's a good one.
It's not as good as shoot this guy in the face, but it's pretty good. And I think that now it only further reaffirms that the game has great replayability. I mean, you end up playing it differently. I know that you end up playing the same way with every character, but I think that if you start really building on the character strengths, like I play very differently with Krieg than I did with Zero, and they're like very, very similar characters in the fact that they're very heavily based on melee damage. But I'm a lot more. Man, I feel like I become one with Krieg when I start playing as Krieg, and I do a lot of stupid shit where I run into like mobs of guys just for the hell. I really, really get excited when a mob of low-level enemies just show up, like
right.
A bunch of bandits, and I throw on Rampage and I just hack them all to pieces. Like it gets me like as soon as I see all the little red dots appear, it's like, it's fucking go time. I'm gonna cut this guy up. It's fucking amazing. And then I do it. But that's Krieg.
Yep.
My saga, the saga of Krieg. So.
All right. So Vagrant Story.
We're going to talk about we're going to do one of the. I think we should come up with a fun name for this segment of the show, by the way. But we're going to be doing one of our fun little things that we do, where we pretty much
we take a beloved of ourselves anyway franchise, and we talk about generally it's a franchise that's not on the radar at all anymore, and we talk about how we would want a game to come out if another one came out, be it a reboot or a sequel. And in this case, I think we're going to go with a sequel or a reboot.
I think reboot. This is a show, and I know that you said that you thought this was going to be a really tough one, and I agree. I mean, we're gonna be talking about Vagrant Story, and the problem is that in many ways, it's a game that was done so right in the first place.
There's nothing wrong with the game, and that's not what we're trying to get at. We're just
I mean, I guess there wasn't really much wrong with
Legacy of Kain. No,
Legacy of Kain either.
But I just wanted to make sure that people know we're not saying that there was something wrong with the game and we want it changed. We're just talking about how, like John said while we were talking about this earlier, a modernized version of the game.
Okay, so it was released in the U.S. on Dexter's birthday. May 15th, 2000 was when it was released here. I felt like it was late 90s, not 2000.
I thought it was 99, but 2000's good, sure.
And then was put on PSN March 1st, 2011 in the U.S. I got the, I believe Australia ends up on the Japanese release network, or maybe it was PAL. Because I bought it on Gemma's PSN account before it was available here. And then I got back and I was playing it, and I saw it was available here, so I bought it, and I couldn't transfer my save data between the two because it was the one from hers was the like UK edition of the game. Yeah. So they had a different game save format. It was the PAL version. But it's a fantastic game. It's got one of the most in-depth, complicated character leveling systems I've ever seen in a game. It's complicated almost out to the same extent that like an Armored Core game is complicated in building a good mech. Right. I don't think there's ever been a game that has rivaled the deep and complex nature of the character leveling system, the weapon traits. You can spend easily 200 hours or more on this game if you really, really wanted to, because there's replayability, there's optional dungeons that become available after completion.
The optional dungeon is long and tough.
Yeah, and there's no...
I was going to say long and hard, but you were going to say that she says.
Are there... I don't recall, maybe you... are there level caps on anything?
I don't think so.
I think maybe the skills level max out at 100. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, they might. Because it's a percentage, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe. But the variety of weapon types, the weapon crafting system, the enemy targeting system, the combo-based combat mechanic in a turn-based RPG. Jan Rosenkrantz in an amazing red jumpsuit with a lip ring for no reason.
Is this back when they were cool?
Right. What's it? Romeo Guildenstern. With his like combat skirt, and no shirt. Sydney Lostra. No, Sydney was the one with no shirt.
Sydney was with
combat.
no shirt. That's right.
Yeah, Guildenstern had a combat skirt, but he was wearing the armor as well, the plate armor. Great characters, great story. Character design was pretty fantastic, aside from the whole paper shirts and
cool final boss that you had to make me do for you.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough, yeah, man. Well, no, I've restarted Vagrant Story, I think probably a dozen times. And of those times, because you spend so many hours just leveling skills, if you get distracted and you go do something else for a while, you come back, it's really hard to figure out where you're at.
Yeah,
in
you
the
don't
game.
know what the fuck you were doing. Yeah.
So you end up having to restart. Like I've gotten to the right near the end, I think twice. And even though I've never finished it, I've gotten to the end. I'm no spiral.
Yeah, he saw the end because I did it for him.
And I think that I'm a far better video game player now than I was the last time I got to the end of Vagrant Story. So I think that if I were to get there now, I could probably do it.
You would just have to focus on it.
Yeah.
Just stick with that game until you're done.
I've
beaten it 3 times.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. So like I guess what I'm trying to say is that to presume that we could make it better is a really lofty sort of goal. But I think a lot of, as we talked about, I think a lot of the things that we would like to see improved were the dated mechanics.
Well, right. The combo system, while amazing, is kind of slow and boring nowadays. So they would need to make it a little bit quicker, a little bit more flashy. It gets to the point where you're comboing endlessly because you've got the rhythm down, but by then you're only doing like 1 damage per hit. You just don't want to stop your combo, that kind of thing.
Because you're
about that.
Because your risk is maxed out.
Yeah. So they need to do something about that. They need to make a reason for you to continue comboing other than just because you don't want the enemy to hit you.
Right.
Which is how you have to beat some of the bosses in the endless dungeon, or not endless dungeon. The optional dungeon is if
it's called the Iron Maiden, I believe it's
if
called.
If you stop comboing them, they will hit you and kill you. So you just sit there and fucking combo them for 45 minutes until they finally die. So I need to do something about that. Make some kind of new incentive for comboing like that. Like you get a certain amount of combos, you get more experience or something like that. It'd be kind of nice. But in regards to the combos, it just needs to be quicker and flashier.
I think that we already saw a kind of a tease of what could have been with Final Fantasy XII, because the rumor has been all along that Final Fantasy XII, in its early stages of development, was actually supposed to be a Vagrant Story sequel, right. Which is why a number of Vagrant Story references are still present in the game,
and the art style is
similar, and it needs to be pointed out. I think that Final Fantasy XII, along with Final Fantasy Tactics, are in the Ivalice setting, and
12 takes place like 200 or 400 years before Tactics, something like that.
And the reason that this is relevant is because that is the same world that Vagrant Story takes place in. Which is, yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Let's see here. Same development team, at least. I thought it was supposed to be in the same
world.
Yeah.
Because there weren't any crazy French towns in Final Fantasy Tactics.
There was no Le Monde.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm reading it right now. Yeah, it doesn't say. I thought that it was. Maybe I'm wrong. But it's the same development team, so you get that same look and style to everything. Would you say that in some ways it kind of felt like similar to, because of the turn-based concept and structure, and there was some like Final Fantasy Tactics sort of feel to some of the stuff?
Well, wait, similar to Tactics or similar to Vagrant Story?
Was Vagrant Story similar to Tactics, I think?
No, not really, not at all.
No, because of the turn-based. Well, I was just asking. I don't know. No, sorry. I completely strayed from my point, which was that with Final Fantasy XII, we kind of saw a glimpse of what could have been in terms of better graphic delivery for Vagrant Story. I mean, and seeing that, because of those references, like when your hunter rank was Risk Breaker, which just gets you excited. I didn't want to rank up. I didn't want to rank up as a hunter.
Right, you didn't want to go any further than that.
But screw being a master hunter. I want to be a Risk Breaker. But the weapons, everything about it is just so great. And the reason I'm saying we can't do a sequel is because at the end, Ashley, the lead character, becomes the host of the Dark Power of Le Monde.
Well, right, but he could become
makes him
the next villain, or it could be a completely different story in that same universe. It could be about a different risk breaker.
No,
It was an agency, so there were risk breakers all over the place.
It was the Valendia Knights of Peace. Yeah. Well, he becomes immortal and lives throughout eternity, protecting the secrets of Le Monde from the outside world, and he gets to wear a leather trench coat with no shirt underneath it.
Very important. Very important.
We can have this episode will be the reoccurring theme can be badass dudes in trench coats with no shirts.
We'd have to do a top 2. No, we'd have to do a top 2.
Alucard, Liquid Snake, and Ashley Riot.
When does Alucard not have a shirt? Oh, in the new.
Yeah.
All right. Because he has a frilly shirt.
Right, he's all Renaissance or medieval or whatever. Yeah, so I think that speeding up the pace of combat, it could even do well in an action game structure if need be, to some extent. I think,
and it would have to be an action RPG, right? Okay, so the combat then, I want them to focus a lot on the Undercity because I think the Undercity was the absolute coolest part of the game.
Like the wine cellars and shit like that.
Just, when you go under, and that's where all the undead stuff was, and you needed silver weapons, and it was dark, and it had like the creepy ass music, which I still remember all the time.
Oh, where the really blue
reminds me of fucking Blood from Numb. Every time I hear it, what I want them to do is like change the lighting and make it just really creepy, really dark, and kind of like
the Undercity's the area that was like bluish, right? Where you fought the crab and stuff.
Yeah, and all the dolls and stuff, the undead, like zombies and whatnot, were all down there, and it looked really cool. It was my favorite part of the game. So
much like that later portion of Dishonored is your favorite part of the game,
right? But for a different reason, because that's crumbling and.
Well, no, I can't help but wonder. Now that I mentioned Dishonored, do you think that a Vagrant Story could do well in a first-person sort of gameplay?
I think it would.
Or would it take away
from?
But
it would take away too much from the what we know as Vagrant Story, which means that people would bitch. Diehard Vagrant Story fans would bitch a lot if it was changed that drastically.
Yeah, us and the other 10 people in the world would really be pissed off.
At least 7 of us would be very upset.
Well, do you think that Ashley should still wear a paper shirt?
I do.
Do you think you should still wear shorts and knee-high sandals?
No, I think he should not wear shorts anymore. I think he should wear pants. But the paper shirt can stay. Also, the antenna hair can stay.
Right. I often wonder, why is it that Ashley is rolling around on a mission in like cargo shorts and a paper shirt?
They caught him on his day off, bro. He was barbecuing out in the backyard.
But then Jan Rosenkrantz, who's not even on the mission, he's like gone rogue and is trying to sneak into Le Monde and like steal the power for himself, is wearing like a red jumpsuit and armored armor on his lower legs and knee pads and armor. Yeah. But like his torso and like thighs and crotch are totally exposed in like a spandex jumpsuit.
Really like just unintuitive armor. Yeah, I agree. But I maintain that Ashley was on his day off.
Ashley, I think in our reboot, I would like to see Ashley with some actual fucking armor on him. More similar to what Jan Rosenkrantz is wearing.
I think that could you even find like armor in the game? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think,
but it never changed your appearance.
Armor should change your appearance.
Look, man, we say this all the time.
Maybe you should start out with shorts, sandals, and a paper shirt, and then when you find armor, it changes all that.
I say this all the time, and I know that it's because of graphical limitations and game programming limitations, but I want to see that more often in any game that has different, like a diverse inventory system. Don't give me the option to change the fucking character's armor if they're just going to look the fucking same.
Right.
It was fine when we were playing Final Fantasy VI on Super Nintendo. That's a different thing. Well, it was Final Fantasy III, sorry. but that was a different thing. It was, you're talking about 16-bit graphics.
Right.
I don't expect you to put in the code like the fucking difference between gold armor and fucking diamond armor would have been like 1 pixel worth of color. So who gives a shit?
Right.
But now there's no reason not to have extensive character modeling.
Really, nowadays you're just being lazy. Wow.
So I mean, and I know that's
our super amazing RPG. It's gonna have,
and that's one of the things that they've actually included that they talked about. It was like one of the first things that they talked about. One of the first things that they talked about with Dragon Age Inquisition was the fact that their armor models, like their map, like what is it, armor models? Template designs for all the suits of armor for the game.
Yeah.
There's like 5 times more armor templates than in the previous 2 Dragon Age games.
Right.
Because they want that customizable armor to look different. Give us the ability to change the pieces of armor and have the shape and the style of armor be different based on the origin of the armor. Like, and then give us, even after that, give us the ability, even if it's go buy some fucking dye to change the color on the armor. Don't make me sit there in some mismatched bullshit armor just to get good stats out of it. Let me make the shit look cool.
Right.
Vagrant Story needs a shop. I understand that it doesn't make sense to have a shop in an abandoned underground city, but look, man, Resident Evil 4 had a fucking creepy guy in a trench coat selling dildos. They can have a creepy guy who hangs out in one of the shops.
Right.
There
could be a guy that lives there. As long he's not in the Undercity, he's up above, relatively safe, where like the blacksmith shop was.
Yeah,
could have been a dude there.
And those and Guildenstern's guys actually are searching the houses, and they're like, where did everybody go? It looks like they just left. Well, maybe one of those guys didn't just leave. Maybe there's one guy still there. And it wouldn't be that hard to write into the game, and it would make the entire
just be a scavenger that is just because no one else lives there, he's living there. Not that hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I shopkeeper that is written into the story would be cool.
A little bit more intuitive camera control, but that comes with more modern gameplay, I think.
Yeah, I think that by default it would probably have better camera control. I mean, the camera wasn't horrible because you could just spin it around, but yeah, it would be a nice addition. Would be a better camera.
I think that one of the things that's great about the game that I think is less commonly used in games now is a really, really good, challenging puzzle system. You encounter a lot of puzzles, like lock puzzles and stuff, stacking boxes or moving bricks or whatever, that are pretty complicated, and a lot of them you have to solve under time limits.
Right.
I just feel like we've gotten away from puzzles being integrated into action or RPG games to the extent that they were in that era of games, mostly because of the pussification of fucking gamers. Just like guys like Josh don't know how to fucking mash a button and resist fucking torture when Ocelot tortures them. These people don't have the patience to figure out puzzles. I think that that's a key element. I think it's something that's really great in the game. I mean, I look back at games like even Silent Hill 2 had really kick-ass puzzles in it.
John, this conversation just reinforces the fact that you're really going to like The Last of Us when you finally play it.
I want challenging puzzles. I want basically Myst shoehorned into my game.
I don't know about that.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
I don't want to have to fucking go to GameFAQs every time I'm stuck somewhere.
Right.
But
okay, that's a mild exaggeration. But I want to see some puzzles, and I want it to be challenging. I mean, you look at Final Fantasy XII, not impossible to finish on its own, but to be able to do all the extra side shit, you didn't need to do it to finish the game, but to kill that last boss, whatever the fuck its name was, that optional one
Yasmet?
Yasmet, yeah.
So awesome.
I want to see stuff like that in there. I mean, stuff that's not like you have to be like a super gamer to do it, but you have to be willing to dedicate the time to level up your character and get your shit sorted out and get everything ready. Like, you spend time beefing up.
I remember we used to make jokes where like you were like, oh, you see a hot girl, you go up to her like because I was going to the Halo 4 launch or the Halo 3 launch, and you were like, yeah. when you get there, if you see any hot girls, just walk up to them and you'd be like, you know what? I killed the Asmat. What's up, baby?
Probably would have worked, bro.
Yeah.
Probably would have worked. I never did it because fuck that. It would have taken forever, and I just didn't have the patience for it. But
I did it.
if and when they release that fucking, and I swear to Christ, if they don't, I'm gonna go to fucking Square headquarters and punch people in the dick. I'm gonna line them all up and one at a time punch them in the dick. When they really
Or just run down the line with your hand out, just hitting them all in the dick.
right. So if then that dick punch will be coming if they do not release an HD remaster of Final Fantasy XII, and if it's not the International Zodiac edition that was released everywhere but the United States, there will be dick punches doled out.
Was that remastered, or was it just?
No, it was just it was basically like a
Because
a
John,
special edition.
As much as we love Final Fantasy 12, I want him to give the Final Fantasy 6 the same treatment they gave 4 on the DS.
Yeah, that would be great.
Before they do that, before they do anything with 12, I want to see that.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think they've already pretty much said that they're releasing Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD, I believe, next year.
Right.
They're bundled together, which is like, oh, fuck. So that they take $10 off the price for making you have to fucking sit through having a copy of fucking X-2.
Right.
Hey, we were going to charge $50 for this thing, but then we included Final Fantasy X-2, so you can have it for $30, buddy. Which they should do, but they've pretty much, without outright saying it, they've pretty much confirmed that after that's out, the next thing in line is to do an HD release of Final Fantasy XII, because it's not a complete rebuild. It's just it's an HD remaster. I just want that to be the International Zodiac edition. I think it's a better version of the game. It's got that job system.
I haven't played that version.
But you know, and I like I said, I mean, the closest we're ever gonna get to a Vagrant Story sequel or remake is Final Fantasy XII. I think. I don't know what's going on like with that development studio, if they're just not doing games anymore, or if they've moved on to gayer pastures where they don't make awesome games. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we're the gaming world has suffered.
Look, John, it all comes down to what I've been saying for years. Square was cooler when it was just Square.
Yeah. All the world
games.
Back when all the world was Square.
Yeah, and now and look, I like Square Enix, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same anymore.
They're half the dudes they used to be.
They are.
And yeah, well.
In any case, all right. So let's move on to our top 5, unless we haven't covered all the bases for Vagrant Story.
Yeah, I think we covered that. A lot of the stuff can stay the same because it was a really stable game.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not trying to cut it short or anything.
Right.
There really isn't much else we can.
Like 13 years later, and it still stands out as one of the greatest games ever made. And it was a sleeper hit. Like it wasn't a huge.
Right.
seller.
I didn't know anything about it until I saw it in the store.
Right. So I mean, it's one of those games that I think that if you haven't played it, you go on PSN, you fucking buy it and play it now, and you shut up until you're done with it.
In fact, I think it was like it was EB Games back then. That I went to. I think I bought it because one of the clerks suggested it to me.
I bought it at Walmart. Back when Walmart was open 24 hours, and Jason Burns and I used to go there and buy whatever games were new that we didn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than obviously a graphic overhaul, but not a change in graphic style, just an update.
Right.
I want it like. I'd even be okay.
We want the same graphic team to work on it.
I would even be okay with a Vagrant Story reboot or sequel, not even having voice actors. I'd be okay with it having the comic
text
book
bubbles?
like text bubbles like it had.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
But
in that Comic Sans looking font.
Fuck yeah.
Or so, it was scratchy like comic book font.
Yeah, and like the jagged outline
fucking cool looking
text bubbles and shit. I'd be graphic update, faster combat, to really take advantage of the comboing system, though not in a stupid like Devil May Cry kind of way.
Right. We don't want like great and awesome and wait, didn't it do that?
Yeah.
It did that.
We
don't want that.
We don't
We don't want that shit popping up on our screen while
we
we're
don't
trying to kill a
want
goblin.
mash X and Y in whatever timed amounts of combo bullshit. I don't want that. I want something more complex than
You
that.
don't want Legend of Dragoon, huh?
Right.
All right. Anyway.
I don't want that because that exists as
Great game.
Legend of
Great
Dragoon.
game. Don't get us wrong.
It's just not Vagrant Story.
We don't want Legend of Dragoon in our Vagrant Story.
Right. So, and then we want customizable armor, we want the armor to actually change the appearance of the character model. Hot damn.
Are we gonna keep weapon degradation?
Who didn't someone tell us that the main thing we had to? Joe said he didn't want weapon degradation in there. I think.
Oh, that's right. That was his one thing. Yeah.
At Joe's request, I could get rid of weapon degradation. I feel like weapon
degradation. I was
degradation.
gonna say I wanted it gone anyway. But.
Yeah, I would say that weapon degradation is kind of a thing of the past. It's not something that really is used a lot anymore because people think it's really obnoxious. Really?
And it's even getting worse nowadays. Worse and worse and worse. Let's take Last of Us for example. Metal pipe. You have a metal pipe. I think each melee weapon has segments and a health bar. And the metal pipe has the most, but you get maybe 9 hits out of it before it breaks.
It's a metal pipe, not a glass pipe.
Right. So, people, no matter what game you're working on, when you work on if you're going to put some kind of weapon degradation system into it, make it take a really long time. It doesn't have to break after 6 or 7 hits. That's unrealistic.
Dead Island, Dead Island had the same problem too.
Yeah, it's super quick. It's dumb.
Look, dude, my lead pipe would way outlast my baseball bat. So don't even put those two in the same fucking caliber of uses.
Right. I mean, I could see a baseball bat breaking over somebody's head if you hit them hard enough. Maybe even in one swing. I get that. But if it's made out of metal, if the pipe bends, it's still going to break some skulls, even if it's bent.
True. And in some cases, it may be more effective when bent because you could jam that bitch right into somebody's head.
Yeah.
Or something. All right, so.
Yes.
Okay. So I have my notes here, and we were kind of struggling with our top 5.
We came up with a whole bunch of them, and we could only find 3 things for each of those.
We realized that deciding to try to do a top 5 every week is sort of
it's a challenge.
It's a scary, scary prospect,
and
we're going
to keep doing it.
Okay. All right. Never mind what I was going to say then.
What were you going to say? What?
I was going to say maybe we might stop doing it every week and just do it every other week or something.
That's a challenge, bro. It's
all right. But what I came up with, because we had come up with, as David said, 3 or 4, and
hold on. We just need to stop trying to come up with them an hour before the show.
Right.
We did that.
So. As a follow-up to our E3 special last week. Because every year gamers get all crazy about E3 and they look forward to it and they sit there and they watch the conferences and they talk about the news that is announced, and one of the things that these gamers are getting excited about is the tried and true franchises that people love to see a new game from. I'm gonna rattle off 1 or 2 that are not on our list. Everybody loves to hear about the new Mario game. Everybody loves to. I don't even give a shit. I don't play the Mario games. My kids play the Mario games, but I still watch the trailer every year. Every year that Nintendo's announcing a new Mario game, I'm like, fuck yeah, you go Mario. Mario Kart 8. Oh, you're gonna be calling it Mario Kart 8. That's very novel. It looks like Mario Kart 1 through 7, but badass. Rock on. Way to do this shit the way you're supposed to. But there are certain franchises that, for us,
it makes us giddy like a little girl.
Always we get excited. I mean, I know that most most gamers are like, oh my god. Anytime a Call of Duty game gets announced, and look, we don't give a shit about fucking Treyarch games.
No, and we used to be like that with Call of Duty. Don't even fucking joke.
And
we used to be.
True, but hold on. But once you get 3 or 4 games into a franchise and you're still using the same game engine,
stop it.
We're not going to get excited anymore.
Stop it. I'm looking at you, Halo, as well. Stop it.
So we were pretty excited about Call of Duty Ghosts because it is the first game since Call of Duty 4 in the Call of Duty franchise that has an entirely new game engine, which is exciting.
But it did not make the list.
No, because I didn't give a shit about either of the Black Ops games. Modern Warfare 3 was sort of eh. The last Call of Duty game that we were super into was Modern Warfare 2.
It was so good.
And it's still a really kick-ass game.
Still is.
Great map design, great weapon performance. Ugh.
Even grabbed all the best maps from Call of Duty 4.
Yeah.
Shoved those.
All right.
Anyway, yeah.
So
sorry.
there were some that we came up with that we put on our list that we didn't make into the top 5, and I think
knows what's up.
I'll start with. Fuck yeah, Scott! Welcome to the show. There are a couple that I'm going to rattle off that didn't make our list, but they're games that we really, really love. And when these games get announced, when new titles from these get announced, for the most part, we get really excited. The Final Fantasy being the first that I'm going to list, it hasn't. The joy hasn't been there for us.
This is the honorable mention list, by the way.
Yeah, we haven't been as nuts about Final Fantasy as we were in the past because we've had a couple of disappointing releases. As we said, Final Fantasy X-2 kind of sucked balls. And
13 took us a while
13
to come around.
And then when you get to like the last quarter of the game and you find out that
11,
it's pretty kick-ass.
Chapter 11, it turns into a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, which then made us both try to play the follow-up.
Didn't finish it.
Which wasn't as good. I got near the end and realized that I needed to like grind a bunch of bullshit, and I stopped playing.
I got to the casino part, and it was like, eh.
Yeah, but it wasn't a horrendous game. I've played far worse games. It just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be.
Right.
Dragon Age. Love the shit out of Dragon Age. A lot of people had like a big bug up their ass.
I liked it.
Yeah, I like Dragon Age 2. I don't care what anybody says.
I thought about replaying it.
I keep trying to go through and get the rest of the achievements I'm missing. I just need to focus and do it.
Sebastian or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I'm missing a bunch of random little stupid ones.
I'm mad that when the achievements weren't working, and then when they were, they didn't retroact them. I was very upset because I did all that stuff.
But we love Dragon Age. I played through Dragon Age Legends, I think, like 8 times. I did completionist playthroughs with different character classes. Origins, sorry.
Legends was the Facebook game, bro.
Yeah, Legends was the Facebook game. Origins, sorry. Thanks for the correction.
You played through it, what?
Thanks for the correction there. I'm not that gay. I played long enough into Legends to get the unlocks for Dragon Age.
Yeah, so did I. That's it.
Origins I played through probably 7 or 8 times with different character classes. Loved the shit out of it.
Yeah, I played through at least once with every character class, and then I played through it once on PC when I got it for PC.
I have a game on PC because I got the like huge like all the DLCs collection for like $6. Yeah. Dead Space. All 3 of the games are fantastic. We love all 3 Dead Space games.
Some are better than others, but they're still all really good.
Still a newer franchise, though. And a lot of people were kind of disappointed. I guess EA was disappointed in the 3rd game. It didn't sell as well as they wanted it to. We thought it was great. We co-opted the shit out of it. We had a really good time. It's been a while since we had a good co-op game like that, so it was really great. Battlefield, obviously, we love the Battlefield games. We love to play the Battlefield games together. David loves to play the Battlefield games alone. We like to put up videos of the Battlefield games. Since the inclusion of the dirt bikes in Battlefield 3 Premium, Endgame was the last DLC for that. Yep. They basically have like broken into new territory of awesome that almost gets as good as the Humvee in the first Bad Company game. But again,
such good times.
I know, right? But I can't say that franchise is one of those holy shit kind of franchises for us.
For me, but we wanted something that we were both excited about.
Yeah, and Elder Scrolls Oblivion's one of my favorite games.
I think that the Elder Scrolls only didn't make it onto the list because we had to cut it down to 5.
Right.
Otherwise, the Elder Scrolls would have been on.
And especially now that we've seen Elder Scrolls Online clips, it looks pretty amazing. I'm not an MMO guy, and I'm still like.
He will be. I'm going to convince him to play 14 with me, too.
I'll think about it.
You should.
But those are all honorable mentions. And there are a number of other ones. I mean, we love games. There's a lot of franchises we really like. I'm not saying that because they didn't appear on the list, they're not good, but those are some ones that are ranking up there. Like if we did a top 10, those would probably make it in.
Right.
But they're not top 5 material, and the top 5 material is as epic for us as it should be. I think I want to start with the strongest. I think the strongest one. I can't think of a single game. Well, there were 2 games released on the PSP in this franchise.
Yeah, but remember when we were coming up with this list, it was the franchises we're super excited about, even if one of the previous games was crap.
Right.
We're still super excited. So,
if
it has a couple crap games in its series, it's not a big deal as long as we're still excited.
As long as they do some redemption in the next game. I mean, you can pull it out of the fire, which is what they've done with Metal Gear. Which is what has happened with Metal Gear. Metal Gear Acid and Acid 2,
Right, and like just going back to it, like the Legacy of Kain games, Blood Omen 2, horrible, but it didn't make us not like it anymore.
And it didn't make Defiance less awesome.
Right. So anyway, yeah. So Metal Gear Solid was our top pick, even though we always say that in the top 5 they're all badass, so they're not numbered. Metal Gear Solid was our top pick.
I personally have watched the extended Metal Gear 5 trailer at least 6 times in the last week.
Yep.
And I get excited every time I watch it, and I'm reminded of how excited I was.
You always see something new that you didn't catch the first time. You're like, holy shit, that's awesome.
And I watching it, I'm reminded of being just as excited watching the Metal Gear 4 trailer when it was first released. I remember that first day that Metal Gear 3 came out when I was like, I was in the one room and I think, were we living together at the time?
When 3 came out? Yeah.
Or was I living with Drew?
No, I was living on Adler.
Okay. I remember hearing Drew play it in the one room and I was in the other room or something like that. I remember 2 people in the house playing it at the same time. That was one of those, like, looking back, I bought Metal Gear Solid 2.
I could be wrong because I think you started playing it first and then I borrowed it from you while you were at work one time and finished it before you did and then gave it back to you.
Maybe.
Regardless, there were more than one of our friends playing it at the same time that we were.
Or was that Curse of Darkness? Which, hold on, we're gonna get there. Hold on, it's
the same thing. Also happened with Final Fantasy 12.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
No, like I bought Metal Gear Solid 2 before I even had a fucking PS2.
Yeah.
I bought it on launch day so I could play it on Jason's PS2. I mean, I have been just as excited about each game announcement. I bought Portable Ops. I bought Portable Ops Plus. I bought Peace Walker for PSP. I bought the HD collection on release day for 360. I bought I'm buying the Metal Gear Legacy collection for PS3, even though I have all the fucking games already.
We forgot one, which I will bring up after we're done with our list.
Okay. Metal Gear really is one of those franchises that you just can't get away from how good it is. So that's that one. David, what do you want to throw out?
Well, you have the list, and I don't exactly remember what we put on it. But Mass Effect.
Mass Effect is on there. So give us some talk about Mass Effect, man.
We have always been Mass Effect fans. I played Mass.
I was late to get on board with the first one.
Yeah, I played the first one while we were living together.
Okay.
Way before you did, and I remember you coming in every once in a while and being like, "What the hell are you playing?" Because I was driving around on stupid craggy worlds with the Mako, and it was horrible. And I remember when I gave you the Xbox, that one of the games I recommended to you, and you got it for super cheap or some shit.
I did get it for cheap because both you and Brian Zephyr had said that it was an amazing game.
Yeah, it's. I have always long since said that the first Mass Effect is one of the greatest sci-fi stories I've ever seen, or read, or whatever. Saren was in our top 5 villains. It's Mass Effect, man. It's such a great game. It's so well done. I was a little disappointed in Mass Effect 2 because it was different from Mass Effect 1 in the inventory system and the RPG elements. But I quickly got over that, and Mass Effect 2 is like super badass. And has a really cool ending where you could lose characters. It's a good story. It's BioWare. I love BioWare.
And I know that when 3 came out, there was a lot of upheaval about the ending and stuff,
Which
but I don't think we
never
were
really
even pissed
cared
about it.
No, I was like, all right, whatever.
I think that there have been, if any, missteps in the Mass Effect franchise, they've been minor missteps. And I remember the week before E3 seeing a BioWare staffer saying that they had intended to make a Mass Effect announcement at E3, but it never happened.
Yeah, we were upset that didn't happen.
Because they were speculating it would be an announcement about Mass Effect 4, which won't actually be Mass Effect 4. They were just saying like that was the the placeholder title. So, but yeah, I mean, it's an action RPG. It's set a new standard in gaming. And it's in there. The reason we took Dragon Age off the list actually was because we figured that BioWare just gets that credit, and we'll give it to Mass Effect because that's the longer running franchise of the two.
Right. We did have kind of a rule for the top 5. There had to be at least 2 games with a third announced.
At least a third has to be announced, yeah.
Right. Or 3 games already in the franchise, and maybe plans to make another one, even if it's not announced yet. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go with another one. I'll do a quick Castlevania because I already talked about it in the show. I was playing. I got hooked on Castlevania. As I've always said, like I was late to the video game thing, and I didn't really get into the stuff until I was in like high school. So I was a Symphony of the Night guy. It was one of the first Castlevania games I really got into. Loved the shit out of it. I own a copy on my Xbox, on my PS3, and on my PS1 physical copy, and I have it on I think it's Dracula X Chronicles for PSP.
Yeah.
I have lots of copies of Symphony of the Night. And when Lament of Innocence came out, I played that. Really liked it. I had both games for the N64, even though people hate them.
They're not good.
Cornell, the werewolf guy, was pretty tough, though.
His name was Cornell.
I know, right? Well, hold on, though, because what we were talking about here. Hold on.
Top 5 for next week. I already have it in my mind.
Okay. Then when Curse of Darkness came out, and you played as Hector, who was the Forge Master, who said "F you" to fucking Dracula. That was pretty cool, and I remember I bought it and I played it, and David borrowed it and finished it while I was at work.
Yep, I do
that was one of those ones where we were farming enemy souls to like forge new weapons and shit. That was a really complex system that I know we had a lot of fun with, because you had to like kill enemies in certain ways to get the souls available, and you were the go-to guy for all of that stuff. And then, as I talked about earlier, Lords of Shadow is a fucking amazing game. When I saw the teaser for...
That's another game that I borrowed from John. And I borrowed it from John because I was kind of afraid to buy it because of how different it was. And just playing it for like an hour completely abolished all those fears. And it was... We were both gushing about it at work, like how fucking badass the game is. So, yeah, they really hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, and when I saw the teaser for Lords of Shadow 2, I immediately got like little girlish, like squealing and fucking sending it to people all over. Yeah. So that is a franchise, and as I said, I've played all the handheld games that I could get my hands on, the DS games and the now the 3DS one, but the Game Boy Advance games as well. It's Castlevania, man. Just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
David, you could throw out... No, why don't you hit up your favorite RPG?
My favorite RPG.
Your favorite post-apocalyptic RPG.
Oh, man. All right, so here's the deal. First of all, I'm going to give a little bit of backstory on this one. Back in, like, 01, I think it was, maybe 2000, 01, something like that, I had just gotten a new computer at the time, and we went to Best Buy. My girlfriend and I at the time went to Best Buy to look for some games, and there was a 2-pack. It was $9.99, and it was Subterra Core, which is why I bought the 2-pack, because I was like, oh, cool, it's like a futuristic sci-fi RPG. I totally want to play that. The Subterra Core and Fallout. And I took it back. I immediately installed both of them, played Subterra Core for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. It's like, this game's kind of dumb. So I was like, all right, fuck it, I'll try out this Fallout game. And the Fallout game was like the coolest game I had ever played at that time. It was just so fucking amazing. I played it over and over and over. And then I was like, oh man, that was so good, we should go get the second one because it's already out. I think Fallout 2 came out in 2001. And so we went and got that. That was even more amazing. A couple years later, I ended up playing the Brotherhood of Steel, which is Fallout Tactics. That game was badass, even though everybody hates it. It's a great game. I love turn-based strategy games like that. So the last one on our list is Fallout. I remember when Fallout 3 was coming out, I just like John got super excited about with Castlevania. I was, asking everybody, have you seen that the Fallout 3 advertisements? I was showing everybody in the fucking Game Informer. Brought the Game Informer to work. It was amazing. Yeah.
You bought the special edition of the game to get yourself a bobblehead, didn't you?
I bought the regular edition of the game, and then that's actually not why I bought it. But I bought a regular edition of the game the day it came out, and then I played through it. I was done with all the achievements in like a week. And then our employee Christmas party comes around, and I was like, Jared had just gotten an Xbox. I was like, I'm gonna get Jared Fallout. It's gonna be great. So I went there to go pick up a copy, and they had a really super cheap limited edition with like the lunchbox, and it had the bobblehead in it, and it came with a game. So I bought that, and I gave him the game that came with it. And kept my regular edition. And
do you have all that stuff, or did it get destroyed?
No, Danielle got rid of it all.
Oh God, why?
Well, she threw my Xbox on the ground. Need I say more?
I hate her.
Yeah. So Fallout, New Vegas. I was super excited about when I heard that. I didn't like it as much as 3, but I still really loved it.
John
actually did way more in New Vegas than I did. He bought all the DLC, finished all the DLC. I have not played any DLC for New Vegas.
Yeah, New Vegas was a tricky one for me. When I was playing it, I didn't like it as much as 3 at first, and I think that New Vegas really, really flourished with the DLC. Whereas Fallout 3's like core storyline was really, really great. I think New Vegas really suffered from the.
Scott says he's going to send you a list.
I know, right? Scott, you would be my hero. I can't even put it into words, man. We need that for the wall behind the VirtualBromance couch.
Right.
But I think New Vegas suffered a little bit from the 3 paths, like where you had to, you could either side with the
right. So it felt like you weren't getting the entire game. You had to play
right, which is what I did. I mean, I played multiple games.
I played through it twice.
But once it got to the DLC stuff, I know Lonesome Road, the last one, was fucking awesome. Like what was it? Dead Money was okay, and it was. The DLC was all really kick-ass. It's one of those weird cases where like the core game is just okay, and then when you get the expanded inventory, they added like gun runners arsenal, so you could start like customizing weapons, adding scopes and silencers and shit like that, and like all of that stuff added to the game really, really further fleshed it out to the point of making it like the optimal current gen Fallout game. Right. That kind of stuff that they added in that late era of New Vegas, I guarantee that stuff's going to make it into the next Fallout game. And I know that Bethesda has retained the rights, and they took they didn't allow Obsidian to do another game after New Vegas because they had already had Fallout 4 in development.
Right.
So
and also early last year, remember, I was looking at a list of games that were reported to be coming out that year, and Fallout Online was on there, which I've never heard anything about after that. But here's hoping.
They maybe that got dropped in exchange in favor of Elder Scrolls Online. Yeah, but yeah, I mean it. God,
I would rather have Fallout Online, but
God, now I want to play New Vegas. You got me thinking about it.
I was just thinking I should probably pick up that DLC and play it now.
But yeah, it's God, so good, so good. I got all the achievements out of both of those. I think that getting into like what was it? I think when I bought Fallout 3, you had been trying to get me to play it. And I was pretty skeptical. I was still early in like
you borrow it first.
I was still pretty early in my current gen video game life, and
but you liked Oblivion. You liked Oblivion, so I knew that you would like it.
Right. Did you buy Oblivion for me? Maybe.
I don't think so. Maybe.
It was like a $20 like special edition with all the DLC and stuff. So I think you bought it for me. But I played Oblivion and I loved Oblivion. Like I had trouble with it at first, like because I had never played a game like it in terms of an RPG. Once I got further into it, I really, really became obsessed with it. Like, I did everything. I did every single thing in the game with that one character, and that's kind of the way that Skyrim happened with me as well.
It's the same with me for both of them. Yeah.
But I was like nervous about Fallout, so I did a lot of reading about it and like checking articles online and whatnot before I went and I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to buy a copy." After I played yours, and then I was like, "All right, this is it. I'm doing it." And I remember like hunting down the super mutant behemoths and like all of the little stuff that was in Fallout 3 really, really got me hooked. And that basically put me in a position where I'm like completely obsessed with these types of games now.
Yep.
I would say that that is the type of game that is most secured itself as like my favorite genre of games in the current gen of video games. However,
large scale explorable RPGs.
Yeah. Now,
however, co-op one. There needs to be a co-op one.
Yeah. As our final game on our top 5 of greatest franchises that we always get excited about, goes back to my origins in video gaming and the Super Nintendo, and that is the Zelda franchise. There have been a lot of missteps along the way, but I will never be able to forget the palpable sense of like elation and like hunger to play that I felt when I first started playing Link to the Past when I was in 7th grade.
The best one.
I know. And like just I sat in class in 7th grade and all I could think about was going home and playing this game. And Ocarina of Time, like I said, I was playing with Dexter. It's a great game. Twilight Princess, I think, was the last really, really great Zelda game.
It's the last one I played. I haven't played Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword is just okay. Wind Waker.
I played Wind Waker. All right, I played Wind Waker
much fucking boat
at
stuff.
work.
Yeah.
I worked at a gas station at the time. They were doing remodeling, but they still had to have someone there. And I worked third shift, so I went there with a little TV set, my GameCube, and I sat there all night and played it and finished it.
Yeah, there's way too much time on the boat. They're doing an HD re-release of that on the Wii U, like a 3D rebuild of it.
Sorry, not whatever. I mean, we love Zelda. Don't get us wrong, but Waker.
Well, they what else they announced though is the 3DS sequel to Link to the Past, which is top-down classic style Zelda, and I was like, I did it. I screamed like a little girl when I watched that fucking trailer.
Yeah.
And there have been, like I said, there have been a number of missteps along the way, but when they get it right, they get it so right. Twilight Princess was so right. It was all of the elements of Ocarina of Time that were great, but like turned up to 11. I could have done without having to turn into a wolf for a bunch of shit, but I'm over that. And just like Ocarina of Time was all the right elements from Link to the Past, half the right elements from Link to the Past turned up. Link to the Past was, I think, a more expansive game. I think there was just more to it. And the way that the story was presented made it more mysterious and mystical.
Right.
Plus,
it had one of the greatest openings ever.
Yeah.
Waking up, having to slog through the rain to find your uncle, find him all like busted up, and have to continue on with his mission. It's fucking cool.
But yeah, Zelda will always be. I mean, Zelda even beats out Metroid. Son of a bitch.
Is fucking good. Metroid. I don't like any of the Metroids that Super Nintendo.
I think
I didn't
Metroid
like the
Prime
Primes.
was good.
I didn't like
the
them.
first one was really, really good. The rest were. Super Metroid is probably the best in the series. Metroid Fusion is fucking super kick-ass. Zero Mission was also really kick-ass because it was a retelling of the original game that expanded upon the ending. But
it didn't make it on the top 5 either because we forgot or because it's good, but it's not top 5 material. Now the one that I wanted to bring up that really needs to go on the honorable mention, if not the top 5, is Zone of the Enders, dude.
Well,
isn't there a Zone of the Enders 3 announced?
Yes, son of a bitch. Yeah, it's not a third game as so much as I guess it's like a reimagining.
It's still a third.
It's a Zone of the Enders game, yeah, and it looks like the orbital frames are more like organic, and it's.
Right.
Oh, I could talk all day about Zone of the Enders. I could. I mean, I got a poster on my wall.
Yeah, it's right there. I can see it.
And I had.
It is Anubis.
I had the HD collection pre-ordered. And as soon as I got it, I played through both games and
I borrowed it from him, and I took my time and made them all upset.
Because I couldn't play it while you were doing that. And then Josh got it, and he sucked at it. I passed it to him, and he couldn't do it because he didn't know how to play games. He's like somebody's mom trying to play a game.
Right.
But that's a fantastic franchise, and I just recently started watching all the anime stuff that was tied into that as well. The 12 prequel stuff that sort of explains the origin of the orbital frames and.
It is a 2-hour episode.
It's not. Remember, we lost a chunk of time.
That's with the power outage and whatnot.
Yeah,
but we are. It probably is time to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. We finished our top 5. That's the end of the top 5. That's how we wrap up the episode. So you like when I do the wrap up. So all your info that you look for is right there on the screen. Like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, like our band on Facebook. All of these things are good things.
Send us fruit snacks.
That's right. Send us fruit snacks. Send us high fives. If I open a letter in the mail and a hand jumps out and slaps my hand, as long as it's on the palm, it's okay with me, bro. If you see us in a bar somewhere,
buy us drinks.
I drink shots of Jägermeister. David does not. He'll make that face. He'll make that face. He looks really miserable. And if you ask him if slapping him in the face would help and he says yes, don't even bother doing it because you're going to slap him in the face and he's going to make that face still and say, no, my face hurts, and it still tastes bad.
This actually happened. Yes. All right.
There's food stamps.
No,
we don't want
send
food
us
stamps. Just send us the peanut butter and eggs that you get with your wake checks.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of these things are things that we like. But we're on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. We play games. We stream things more often. David plays games and David streams things. But we do these things as well. We will do more in the future.
Why haven't we been doing... What have we been up to lately? We haven't streamed or made a video in a while, other than this stuff.
Yeah. E3, work.
E3 and, was super important. It kind of drained us, but yeah.
Word. So that's about it. We're going to wrap it up. Scott, thanks for hanging out in the chat for a bit. We'll play some games with you at some point. The show will be up on YouTube probably tomorrow.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of extra editing because of the power outage thing.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how... I might have even lost the first part, but we'll figure it out.
No, it's on Twitch.
Yeah, but I can't edit it from there. I can only upload it straight.
Can't you pull it and... You can't download a version?
We'll figure it out.
Word.
But yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and see you next week.
Sounds good to me. Later, fuckers.